right, so this afternoon I have the pleasure of talking to you guys about advanced techniques in implementing field GIS data collection. How many people are familiar with that process in some way, shape, or form right now? Great, so you're in the right room. Let's see. Okay, so currently as it is, some of the needs for field data collection are inspections, asset inventory, condition assessments, and transportation counts, traffic counts, feature mapping for point locations for new features, linear route mapping, or boundary delineation. And what's becoming more and more popular is being able to allow the public to provide feedback for projects that you're anticipating or have in a pipeline. So crowdsourcing information is becoming very popular. And so with the old ways of doing that, which were less than ideal, were having your people go out in the field with clipboards and papers, complicated Excel documents, fillable PDFs. They'll go out there, write out everything on paper, come back to the office, have to re-enter all that over and over and over again. If you needed to collect imagery, the cameras were separate. A few years ago, Nikon started doing geotagging for certain images. Those, again, are still separate, and you would have to come back to the office, label them correctly, put everything together. And if you needed GPS coordinates, those were standalone big units that you used to take out in the field with you. And all those were disjointed, and you have to package all that up and sort of sync it up and hope that you're managing all that correctly. And some of those issues, like I just discussed, like you see here, these complicated PDF forms that you'd have to, go through and fill out for maybe several hundred thousands of records out in the field with your people. And that's just how things were done back in the day. But with the advent of mobile technology and the powerful computers that we all have in our pockets with cameras and integrated GPS, all of that is integrated now. And using Esri's ArcGIS platform, we can optimize that whole process and kind of have an organic, holistic approach where everybody has the common situational awareness picture with an optimized UI and software that's developed to kind of help you with that whole process. With two of the tools I'll be talking about today, Collector and Survey123, they're powerful conditional form technology that allows you to streamline the process and kind of have everybody have an eyes on and manage the QA/QC process as you go along. And so before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and ask, I'm pretty sure everybody in here knows what ArcGIS Online is by now, right? That's Esri's subscription-based software, and that's also known as software as a service. It allows you to create, share, author, and distribute not just apps, but data and other neat little information that you want to share with your organization. It's secure and it's scalable. And one of the challenges for all of us in the past is, protecting confidential information, PII information, and keeping that secure and keeping your system secure. With the ArcGIS Online platform, you don't really have to worry about somebody poking around, rooting around in your system that's not supposed to be there. So what you can do is push everything out to the cloud, have a nice safe buffer for you to interface with the public and in your organization, where information is not siloed off within your organization itself. So everybody's properly given access to what they need, and even public is given access to what they need to see without having to worry about your secure systems. And so that allows us to, with that information all out there in the cloud, allows us to kind of manage that whole process a little bit better. You can have your analysts, your competent GIS people kind of authoring and coordinating, developing tools and maps and apps for people to use. You can have a manager who is predominantly concerned with an operations dashboard, kind of getting the big picture, what's going on right as it's happening. And then you can have administrators who are, I guess, are the power users in the organization, be able to do more in-depth analysis and data crunching of what's coming into the organization itself. And so all of that is synced with your own local premise infrastructure, as well as your ArcGIS Online cloud. And the field worker who doesn't have to be GIS super savvy can be out there, download a few apps, and be told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And all that information is synced right back up to your organization, and near real time get a good picture of what's going on with your entire organization. And so one of the apps that I was talking about is Collector for ArcGIS. There's another one called Survey123, but for Collector, it's map-centric. Mobile application that you can download that comes with is accessible to you if you have an ArcGIS Online subscription. It's very easy to build and publish and deploy. Comes out of the box with great functionality. It's compatible with most operating systems, integrates with ArcGIS Online and other Esri mobile apps. It's good for high accuracy, capturing points, lines, and polygon. And if you just need map-centric interface, if you need something that kind of you can create reference data, base maps for your people to use out in the field, and you need something with a map UI, that's what you would want to go with. And then there's Survey123, which sometimes, 80% of the time, some of the surveys that you need to conduct are very binary. True, false, yes, no conditions. You kind of drill down into attribute tables and go ahead and populate all that. And it's pretty simple. But sometimes you need a little bit more. You need conditions. You need multi-select. And that isn't handled too well with Collector. So you would use something like Survey123. It's not as map-centric. It doesn't do lines of polygon, only does point features for now. But I think in the upcoming releases, it will be able to handle that. It allows you to bundle up everything with photos, videos, attachments, GPA locations, field calculations. So it allows you to do a little bit more than what you can do with Collector. And is what I'm going to be primarily focusing on today and how to leverage and kind of extend a little bit out of the box functionality. So the survey process, as your organization, you develop your survey criteria, your questions, and you come up with that, you author it, and then you publish it and share it with your organization in ArcGIS Online. And then the field survey out there will go out there, download a few apps, open the app, get their assignment, go to the location, conduct that survey, and push that back up to you, and you can manage that data near real time. And so the two options for Survey123 that you can use to publish surveys are to use Survey123 Connect, which is a standalone app that's for desktop that gives you a little bit more power than the online version in the terms that it allows you to use the XLSForms, forms, which are Excel-centric forms that allows you to do a little bit more powerful survey creations. Allows you to create very intricate and very, logic-centric surveys that is then pushed into Survey123 and converted into a very easy to read and easy to consume form. And then the other version of that, let me go back one here. The other version will be use the form designer, which comes out of the box. It's online. It's survey123 at arcgis.com. You log in with the ArcGIS Online subscription, and you are able to kind of go to a site where it's very user-friendly, drag and drop, create your survey. It's what you see is what you get. There's nothing really crazy going on in the background. So for 80% of the time, it's going to be exactly what you need, and you don't have to worry about Survey123 Connect. But if you need a little bit more, I would suggest you use Survey123 Connected Desktop, which allows you to do a little bit more with Inbox and XForms and author out templates for reports. And so this is sort of what the web designer looks like. It's simple. You design it up, you type up the questions, it's all updating in real life. And then once you're happy with it, you can preview it and then publish it out. And that gets published out to the ArcGIS Online account. And this is what the XForm sort of looks like. It allows you to do a little bit more. And those of you who are Excel savvy and use the XForms, they're going to be opened up to be able to do whatever you want and be able to push that into Survey123 and the engine, and that will convert all that into a simple form for you to use out in the field. And so once that's published and shared with your organization, you will go into your My Content and you will be able to see that a form, which is I think a related table, gets created along with the feature service to host that collected data. And I think coming out, they're rolling out Workforce for ArcGIS, and as recently this morning I checked, and once you publish a new survey, it will generate another feature service called Workforce that's going to be working into the whole workflow of managing the whole data collection lifecycle for data collectors. And so this kind of just, again, shows you the whole cycle of, somebody in the back end, a manager, being able to author and publish and assign work out to people in the field. The person in the field gets a notification on their phone. They open up Workforce. They see the list they've been tasked with. They click on one that automatically opens up Navigator, which is Esri's version of Google Maps from where you are located and navigates you to where your task is. Once you get there, that launches Survey 123. And if you've done some of the back end work, you've already pre-populated some of the stuff that you need to, some of the redundant things that you already know you're going to know, and you can finish up the work right then and there, submit that, and that gets pushed up to ArcGIS Online. And if the Ops dashboard and some of the other tools, web app builder tools have been developed, you can be able and are consuming the information from the feature service that was published with this survey, you'll be able to see that information in near real time. And so I would like to talk to you about a project that we did for our company. We did was a multi-year, very big budget safety improvement project. And the idea was to kind of improve over 4,400 locations on signalized intersections and everything. So as you can see, it's not small change. It's a big effort. And the way that they had been doing it before we came along was to do fillable PDFs, 5 pages worth for each location. And so as you can see, doing that over and over can be cumbersome, can be complicated, and it leaves a lot of room for error and no QA/QC in that process. But all of that can be converted to something that's very simple, easy on the eyes, easy to navigate, swipe through, and kind of answer the question and have it pre-populated before you go out in the field and kind of speed up and cut down on the time for collecting that large quantity of data. And so how we did some of that, I'll now talk about how we extend Survey 123 a little bit more than what you get out of the box. So what you can do is that Survey 123, since it's not map-centric, you can use other map-centric tools that Esri provides, such as Web App Builder, to create the tools and extend the widgets that they already give you. And what you can do is launch Survey 123, which it's powerful multi-select XForm survey tool, and Survey 123 already pre-populated with some of the things that you need from other services. So what you would do is extend a pop-up template and using the JavaScript API, if you do development, you would have a function in there that would allow you, when you click on a pop-up on the feature on the map, when it pops up, there'll be an additional option for you to click on Open Survey 123. And when that happens is, when you click that, you call that URL in Survey 123. When you publish that survey, it generated an item ID. You'd pass that along with the item ID and the fields that you want to pre-populate in that survey with that information from the pop-up that you just clicked on. That fires up and it takes you right to that survey in ArcGIS Online and pops it up for anybody to provide feedback with, the complicated logic that that survey provides. What you can also make use of is GUIDs. Since Survey 123 is not really line or polygon centric right now, what you can do is use Collector to collect that information. And when you publish that service, make sure you add a GUID to that service. And so what you could do, then you collect it in Collector, and then you add use that same GUID and make that association and do the attribute editing in Survey 123. Again, either doing some of the pre-population up front, so you don't have to go through all of it again, or using a URL to call that service and pre-populating it that way as well. And another powerful tool that a lot of people, if you're a developer, what you kind of would appreciate is when you have to generate a report, you've gone through the whole life cycle of a workflow, and you have to spit out a report that makes sense and looks good and is easy to consume. Sometimes it's not easy. Programmatically generating reports is sometimes time-consuming. With Survey 123 Connect, it's desktop functionality, and the tool itself, I think the online version has a beta for you to upload this, but you can generate a Microsoft Word template for your report and place in placeholders for the XForms for your survey, for the values for your survey, place that in there and have that be uploaded to Survey 123 Connect and have it be associated with that survey. So whenever you go to reports in Survey 123, it will spit out a report and replace the placeholders that you put in with real values that were collected in the fields with pictures, attachments, signatures, PDFs, and everything. So that's something that's really nice, and I think it's a time saver that a lot of people don't leverage, is being able to kind of generate headers, footers, and all that styling and branding it for your organization, and being able to just have it associated with that survey and either use it as a template for multiple or generate multiple templates for multiple surveys. And other little tricks that we kind of leveraged is using webhooks. Now, with the advent of webhooks, you can attach events to on-submit events in your applications to trigger status updates or fire off an email notification to somebody, your manager or something like that, to let them know you've completed your work or that they need to review the work that you submitted. And there's another feature in Inbox that you have to turn on. It's a little cumbersome, and it's Survey123 Connect that allows you to kind of put one more buffer in that whole process of data collection where I am a surveyor. I've been to this location. I know the buildings I'll be surveying. I know where they're at. So what I can do is I have maybe several hundred of these to do. I can sit at the desk, and once the service is published, go ahead, look through all of that and pre-populate some of the things. I know this address, I know the building type, I know the code that is associated with, do all that up front at my desk and save it to Inbox so that doesn't trigger the automatic push to the service where your manager, whoever is viewing it, can see the status update. You do a lot of that work up front in your office before you go out in the field. So when you go out there, the only thing you need to do is kind of just check on, the status of the building that's there in front of you, or take a picture and attach it to that form before you send it off. And so once that's done and you submit it out in the field, then it gets pushed out to the service. So that gives you kind of Inbox gives you kind of one more stopgap for you to do a lot of work up front and finish it up in the field. Another little anecdote. We worked with the police department where they would go out in the field and they would open up the tool, the survey, to collect crash data or something like that. They would open up the tool when they got there in their car and then start entering things and, file that report and everything. But then they would walk about 50 feet to where the crash actually was. And so that, when they opened the tool is when they captured their location, the geolocation. So you always got to make sure that you are where you want to be before you open that survey, because that's when your location is captured. So that kind of, if accuracy is important, that's something to keep an eye on. The source code for Survey123 is available. So if you have developers, so you are a developer and you like tinkering under the hood, it's something that you can do to extend and add capabilities to. I think it was built on the JavaScript API 3.2 or 3.7, I think. They're migrating away from that to 4, but you can do that. The source code is available, and I always encourage people to tinker under the hood and play around and see what you can do. And so this is kind of just showing you the web app builder web app that we developed, and then showing that you click on that pop-up, and then the custom action at the bottom of that pop-up is that the clipboard that you click on, and it will ask you to open Survey123 on your phone. You open Survey123, and that information that was passed along from the attributes from that pop-up is already pre-populated when you open Survey123. So all you have to do is just finish it up when you're done there. And that's about it. Any questions? Yes?
That pre-populated transfer of data, does that mean you can transfer the XY coordinates?
XY coordinates. I'm not quite sure about that. You should be able to, since the record is already created and you're just, so the service is already created, the survey is created, but the feature service powering lives in another app. So when the pop-up comes up, you just pass that information. That record is in a related table and it's just being associated with it. Okay, so Survey123 is not map-centric. It's more of a form-centric and table-centric. So that it does have an XY. You have the ability to enable geolocation on that, so that should jive pretty well.
So I guess I was wondering, could that be a workaround for looking at the app?
Right. Yeah. That's another shortcut for doing a lot of the work up front, or just cutting out, re-entering some of the stuff that you already know. Yes.
So you talked about placing crash data.
Mm-hmm.
We were working with Survey123, and I was talking to someone else. But based on what he said, it sounded like, let's say you're going out to collect crash data, I'm going out to collect crash data. Do I see your crash data point that you collect? If neither of us is the creator of the survey,
Mm-hmm.
do we see each other's crash data points?
That data doesn't get entered until you hit submit. So once you hit submit, those records would be visible to each of you.
To everybody.
Right. Well, whoever has access to that, yeah.
Okay. The impression I got from him was you saw, as a data collector, you saw the data you collected. You didn't see the data.
Well, yes, on your mobile app, you would only see the records that you've created.
Okay.
But yeah.
So, but what's interesting is, let's say what I want to know is, oh my God, there have been 15 crashes here.
Mm-hmm.
If I've only collected 2 of them, then I don't see the other
what you could do is, no, all of that is push to service, and what you could have is a collector app that is more map centric and will be populated with the other records that people are submitting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Hey.
Have you used webhooks with the Survey 123, and if so, do you have some examples of use cases for whether that would be useful?
We've just been playing around with it right now, but since webhooks are kind of relatively new, but we've been able to configure it to have it actually do an email send off to somebody when a record was entered. So we've been able to kind of work through that, and we're playing around with a few new ones, but that's something that's opening up and that we encourage people to experiment around with. Mm-hmm.
You have to have, like, could you have a public-facing site where anyone could submit records, or do you have to have a license for each person submitting data?
You can make it very public and make it available to anybody that can hit that URL. And if you needed to, you don't have to have an organizational account. You can have a personal developer account or just a Esri public-facing account. But with the crowdsourcing stuff, no, it's all public, and the data is still protected in ArcGIS Online. All right, thank you very much.